I think we should just jump to the knife that everyone's looking at. Let's be real, knife of the year. 2025, wrap it up. It's done. Do you have an EDC tool that has made you closer to a friend or family member?
Human connection.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not my smartphone. If you had to eliminate one piece of EDC from carry, what would it be? Imagine no pocket knives. What would that do? What would that do? That would make EDC as a hobby more accessible. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Carry the Way, the weekly podcast where we nerd out about all things EDC gear and maybe try to teach you a thing or two while we're at it. I'm Bernard, the founder of EverydayCarry.com, and I'm joined by our editor, Mikey.
Hello, hello.
So if you're new to the show, welcome. Here we talk about the latest in EDC gear, answer questions from the community, and review pocket dump submissions from our viewers. And if you've listened before, we just want to say thank you so much for the support. And just a quick reminder to give a thumbs up to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, as it really helps the channel. So why don't we start as usual with a pocket check? Mikey, do you have anything new you're carrying this week?
I do. Stuff I actually bought with my own money and I'm really, really excited about this week.
Oh, let's see it.
Number one, I have switched out my earphones for the new AirPod 4s. Reason being, it's now becoming very uncomfortable and painful for me to keep using silicone tip earbuds. Actually, part of the reason I'm still using earbuds, the earpods for the podcast, it's the shape that doesn't jam itself into my ears the most, is more comfortable for me for long periods of time. So now I have a spare pair of earpods in my bag, and my wireless have now converted to the AirPod 4s. It's a little bit of an odd shape, so my case is the old sleeve I was using for it doesn't work. So I've now chucked this into a Waterfield sfbags.com little pouch that I had lying around. So
Okay.
That's my carry there.
I forgot that you're the type to like have the case for the AirPods.
Yeah. I just want to scratch it. I know I do have some scratches on it already, but I just want to, kind of preserve it, just prevent it from getting knocked around.
Also, when you drop them and you don't have a case on them, the thing snaps open, they fly out. I've had that happen at the gym before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I've only been fortunate enough that I've only dropped like just the pod, not the actual case. So I've been fortunate for that one. But the thing I'm really excited about is this guy. This is the Fisher Blades Beckwith Covert. I've been saving up for this knife, but it is kind of like
fixed blade.
Another fixed blade,
Nice.
The fixed blade that I've been waiting for. So I wrote a post about this a while ago. I originally caught the knife from Melissa Backwoods. She did a review of it, and then I saw it, and it was a perfect size. I like the design of it. I like the. I remember I was talking about the folder that I really liked last year from DPX, the one that it has these guards, these finger guards. And I mentioned a couple of times that I like the full-handed grip that is totally locked in because of those. Yeah, because of those. Love the Tanto shape. I love the whole design philosophy. And thanks to my practice from like drop culture stuff, for this batch of knives, I got 001 out of this batch.
Oh, so I got that is sick.
Yeah, so a little bit of fast fingers for the if you know serial number for this one. Yeah.
That is the ultimate Mikey knife.
I know.
It's like the black Tanto fixed blade, but also if you know, And
also, I also like the fact that the two other things that I like about it is it's a sub 3 inches, because a lot of fixies just go overboard and go full tactical. So this is a little bit more discreet, but still gives me that whole hand grip. And I also like the fact that they're using a special steel for the blade and the tang itself. It's AEBL steel. It's not a very common one, but I'm familiar with the steel because they use it in high-end ballad songs, because it's super tough steel. And if there's anything that needs toughness, it's something that you drop onto pavement constantly, right?
Right.
So I was in contact. I was asking about the details with the founders, Chaz Fisher. So they're a couple of they're brothers out of, I believe it's also Montana, but I forget. But
okay,
they also make a left-handed sheath, so this is perfect. I really like the clip for it and everything. So yeah, kind of like my idealized fixed blade. Everything I really wanted out of like a tactical sub 3 inch blade. It's not too expensive either. It's I saved up for it's about $300, so a little pricey as far as fixies go. But I don't see a fixie that can kind of overrule this one. This is kind of like ultra perfect for me.
Yeah,
So
when it
yeah,
checks your specific boxes, I
yeah,
think it's worth ponying up for,
yeah.
right?
I
Yeah,
it's like I mean 300 isn't a lot, but it's also not not a little
nothing.
amount.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also the fact that I had to wait for it for a few months because they do make very small batches of it. So
Mm.
everything aligned, and it's finally arrived, and super excited. There's a lot of I'll share a picture with our editor where they included so much stuff in the package. There's a manual for it. They included a band-aid in the package just because
Oh,
they know you're
dang.
gonna cut yourself with it.
No, no, no.
Um,
You're not gonna use the original OEM Band-Aid. You're gonna
no, no,
find some
no.
other.
I'm wrapping that in plastic and keeping that in the
Yeah,
original packaging. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I ate the
See,
jerky
I
that came with it
understand.
though.
No,
It came with a
well,
piece of beef jerky.
you can't take that with you, right? So,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
And then
That's a cool pickup. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and then lastly, JetBeam. Well, Flashlight Go, one of our side partners, they sent me this JetBeam flashlight. It's kind of like their take on the ArcFeld Pro, the OLED
Mhm.
ArcFeld Pro. So there's a floodlight here. There's a physical lockout. There's a floodlight on the top. There's a UV light as the next one. You can see
Yeah.
it there. And
And
then
for the
there's
people who are just listening, it's like a candy bar style flashlight with
yeah,
kind of a rotary mode select with the 3 different types of
yeah.
emitters. That's
So
similar
this
to the
is
ArcFeld Pro.
JetBeam's take on it,
Yeah.
and there's a green laser. So it's really like the ArcFeld Pro, and then there's just a technical switch in the back for like full boost, and it's a little bit larger, so it's another full hand grip. But this is
Yeah.
yeah, JetBeam's take on the flat. Everybody's making one.
Right.
There's a piece of news that even like Imalent, who makes the brightest flashlights, they're making one as well. So it's I think I've seen one
This
from
one's my
every.
favorite. I don't know if you guys have seen this guy before.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah,
Vintage.
Apple actually. Apple kind of
Apple,
pioneered this form
actually.
factor. Yeah, it's got the rocker switch that we love so much on the new Rampant from Exceed, and
Yeah.
it's got the rotary that the ArcFeld Pro has. So,
Problem
you
is, it's
know,
only infrared.
yeah,
It doesn't do anything
not
else.
visible to me, but
It
some
exists.
creatures
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is light coming out of there. Yeah,
Yeah. And then the last one, Sumo and wrist, just as I said, the watch on the wrist going to be for a while. And yeah, that's it for me.
nice,
How about
nice.
you?
I like the what was the fixie called again?
This is the Fisher Blades Beckwith Covert,
Okay, that.
named after a colonel. Yeah. It's nasty.
Yeah,
Sick.
but like two point what was it 2.99-inch blade? Just sub
2.98.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that's worth just restating because we had a previous episode. There's a question where it's like, what's the difference between or the benefits of a fixed blade versus a folder? And I was just like, well, none really, unless you're just doing bushcraft and survival. And I had so many people leave comments like they're actually well intentioned and they're dropping like serious knowledge when they're saying like, dude, you could just get the small knife. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that Mikey is bringing the small fixie to the forefront of the audience because
Yeah.
I was kind of clueless about it. So
Yeah.
nice to see that again. And then the AirPods, I wanted those too because I too always have AirPods in because I'm on meetings or in calls and stuff all the time, and it does get irritating. I actually have 2 sets just so that I can hot swap during the day.
Just because you use them up that much?
Yeah, because one will die and I need to grab another pair.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have like so many of these, and
Actual two
yeah,
is one.
yeah. So that's I think maybe 3 is one at this point, but I'll just get the more comfortable ones. So that's cool. As far as for my pocket check, nothing really too new in the pockets, but the vintage watch that I was talking about did finally come. So I can
Yes.
kind of show this off. Maybe I'll have
Long
like
time
better
coming.
B-roll up, but yeah, this is a the vintage Grand Seiko. It's from 1969, I think, maybe
Nice.
1970. So it's about 55 years old. But I was able to get this from a private collector on Instagram.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it was like full set, complete, all original, not serviced though. And the condition is like, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be from just the photos, but I kind of got over that, right? It's just like, it's 55 years old. Like, cut it some slack. Like, it's okay. And the timekeeping is really good. I think on the time grapher, is that what? Yeah, on the time grapher, it's +0 seconds per day, face up, and then
what more can you ask? How is that?
Yeah, well, because on wrist, like I'm not just constantly. Well, maybe one day I could just be like this for like 24 hours, but
right.
On wrist, I think it's about 1.8 plus 1.8 plus 2 per day, which is like really good, I think. So pretty happy with it. It's just the right size. Now, I think I mentioned before how it's like, oh, my other watches, they're 40 millimeters, they look fine on me. And then now I'm just like, but compared to this though, like they do kind of look big. So anyway, I'm really enjoying it. But the brainworms do make me want to get like the new SLGW005. That's like the modern recreation of it, just because it'll have sapphire glass, a little bit better water resistance, because this has none at this point, and the new high beat movement, sapphire case back, all that kind of stuff.
That actually just reminds me. I'm gonna jump a little bit, and I have a question.
Please do.
Do you have the tendency to double up on stuff that you really, really like? Because in this case, you wouldn't technically be doubling up if you got the modern version of it. It just looks the same, but totally different watches, but you still get the same aesthetic and the same enjoyment out of it. So you're technically doubling up, but not really. But in general, do you like it? Just as an example, would I double up on this? I think I might. Like, I've doubled up on shoes. I've doubled up on watches before. I'm trying to stop that mentality now, but I want to know what you think about doubling up on stuff. Want to rock, want to stock, and all of that.
Yeah. Well, I wish you would have given me a heads up so I could do some stretches before this like intense mental gymnastics. But I think I do, and like I tend to, but I usually in the end regret doing it, because after enough time, there will be one that I choose more than the other, and that will just become true. So, for example, I when it came to like my audio like obsession, my personal audio hobby, I had two Walkman, but like one was made of aluminum and one was made of brass. So I had two of the same one, and because one sounds slightly different. But like, is that even real? I don't know. And then I had one that was like gray, a smaller one, and one that was green. And I thought like, oh, I could have one tuning on this and another tuning on that. It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that was really worth it. So in the past, I've definitely doubled up on stuff, and double like minimum. I would collect the same thing over and over and just tell myself it's slightly different. There's like a great TikTok or reel we did a couple of weeks ago about well, it was like wearing different color hats. I forget the exact context of it, but you, Mike, you were saying like, oh, what if I have different color hats? And you said like, what's a color, and why would you? I just have like 10 black hats. That's kind of what it reminds me of. So I don't think now I would feel okay about doubling up, but if I'm honest, I think I do want to double up. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because I looked at my watch box and I have more Grand Seikos in there, and 4 of my Grand Seikos look virtually identical, basically. But they're they're slightly different. The movement inside is different. The case shape is slightly different. The dial is textured. This one isn't. But you look at it, it's like, okay, yeah, that's like a small Grand Seiko. It's
quick eye test. So, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Right. So I don't know if that's just a way for me to convince myself that, oh, it's different, and or I don't know. So but I do know that I know what I like, and I think it's okay to just go for what you like rather than what you think you should get. But at the same time, it comes to a point where it's like, all right, let's chill out.
I think it's fair that if there's like if there's something you particularly like, and then you get some variations of it, so it's like different color of the same shirt or different types of the same black cap or whatever. But would you double up on something exactly the same?
Identical,
because I was thinking, I'm also coming from the mindset of, I talked about this a few episodes back, where I am paranoid of destroying something I really, really like, or something not being available anymore. So I want a spare of it just in case. So I'm also coming from that mentality, not just convincing myself that a variation is something different, but actually I want more of the same thing. This one is literally, I want the exact same thing just to make sure that I always have it in case I lose it or I
Yeah.
break it and it's no longer available. And do you have anything? Do you have anything you own that's kind of like along that lines where it's so precious to you that you don't ever want to be without it? That's why you have multiples of it.
I think to some extent, yes, but it gets harder for stuff like EDC stuff. It's like the
Mm.
second you use it, it's already in that context ruined, right?
Right.
So it's easier for me to just get over that need to have like the exact same thing of something, because I know that it's going to get beat up if I use it at all.
Mm.
And then it gets a little bit harder with things that have like tech, because they have batteries in it. The batteries don't last forever. And then even like sneakers, I actually do wish that I had multiples of the John
Right.
Elliott Air Force Ones that you put me onto.
Yeah.
And then I wore through, they're cooked now. I had to throw them away. And I tried to buy another pair on StockX or something,
And they're
and they're
gone.
so
Yeah.
expensive and they're old. So like they're not as durable anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, but for EDC stuff, I think, and it also might just be because I have the privilege of being sent so many things that I just don't have the time or like need for multiples of something, because there's always something that I can try out that's different. Yeah.
And maybe there's just something that you haven't particularly latched onto that is that kind of special enough for you.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I do have like 3 iPhone SE from 2016, like the small one with Touch ID, and so yeah, I think I do double up on stuff. It's just I don't really think about it in the EDC context as much, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was just my question, because I was just thinking, because you also mentioned that you had the 2 AirPods, and I was like, oh, what if there was,
true.
Well,
they're slightly different. One of them is Lightning, and one of them is
USB-C.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, I would be curious to know if people were like, I know that there are some collectors, like I've seen crazy collectors of the same. I was just talking about in another meeting of ours where one guy had the same annual CRK knife that he had collected over the past 10 years. It's pretty sick. But it's essentially the same knife with different materials, different handle, different steels and everything. But it's the same knife. It's just they do variations of it. So I was thinking, not in the term of multiple versions of multiple variations of the same thing, but actually the same thing, like doubling up on the same sneaker. Yeah. So I was wondering if people would actually do that.
Yeah. So let us know. But one thing does come to mind. One of my favorite EDC items, the forest green Ridge wallet, got discontinued. And speaking of Ridge wallet, why don't we jump into an ad read from today's sponsor? This episode is brought to you by our parent company, Ridge. Ridge is best known for their premium minimalist metal EDC wallets with RFID blocking technology and a lifetime warranty. But they make all sorts of EDC gear these days, like EDC knives, key organizers, wedding bands, machine pens, backpacks, and hardshell luggage too. I use their products every day, and so do a ton of other people with over 50,000 5-star reviews. They make gear in quality materials like carbon fiber and titanium in a bunch of new matching colors and designs. You can try them out with a 99-day risk-free trial to see if you like them. So upgrade your EDC with Ridge at ridge.com/carrytheway for 10% off your order. Supporting Ridge means you're supporting this show too. So thank you, and thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring today's episode. So why don't we jump into some new gear, like some actual new releases, now that we're kind of deep into 2025. So we'll start.
What a year, huh? 3 weeks into January. What a year.
Yeah. We'll start with some new stuff from Kershaw and ZT. So I think by the time this is published, I'll probably have swung by their booth at SHOT Show. But, we can't wait. We're just looking at them right now. And there's a bunch of new awesome things in here. But I think we should just jump to the knife that everyone's looking at and wants to know, right? Let's be real. I'm going to say it. Let's be real. Knife of the year, 2025, wrap it up. It's done. It's right here.
Gonna be hard to beat the 1660 Trout.
Yeah, how do you beat this?
Oh my god. I legitimately respect Kershaw for this design.
How do you beat this?
Oh my gosh.
People are going crazy over like the bug out. Nah, bro. There's a Trout right here.
Wait.
Like donut knives?
Even the clip side has the the Trout design. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. See? I don't know.
All in, all the time on this show.
I was going to say, I'll consider breaking the law to carry this. No, don't do that, actually. So this is a Kershaw leak assisted opening. So for places where you can't carry assisted knives, keep that in mind. But I think this is really cool. Apparently, it's made in the USA. I don't know if that's true of Kershaw, but it could be for this one. It's $75 for an assisted leak. I don't remember the last, the price point used to be for this, but Sandvik 14C28N, that's like kind of budget steel.
So. Yeah, here's the thing also, like Kershaw and Zero Tolerance don't often make new stuff. I always kind of put them on blast for like hiding into their cave, hibernating, and then coming out with 2 knives a year or something. I remember Kershaw had been banking on the Iridium for the past year or so. And then they come out swinging in 2025
dude.
with the 1660 Trout.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, Leak is a classic all-time great design, Ken Onion design.
Yep.
And this is just, I would not have pegged Kershaw for such a quirky and interesting design. This is not something, honestly. And there's another knife in this batch of new releases that's also pretty sick to me. Not something I would expect out of Kershaw.
I'll show that in a bit, but I did just want to kind of mention that, isn't it interesting that this is a knife that's been around, it's proven, maybe a bunch of people listening have owned like a Kershaw leak or something like that. Mm-hmm. But then how do you make it relevant and fresh? Like 14C28 and steel, like, okay, but then you just make it interesting visually, right? I don't think it changes the performance. Maybe it does, but if it looks like a Trout, I don't know, maybe it's higher vis and easier to locate or something. But
can you imagine if there's a fisherman in your life, would they not be totally stoked to get this? Like, it's a sick knife. Yeah. It's an all-time classic knife. And then you also have a theme with a Trout. That is so sick.
I don't fish. Every time I'm on a fishing boat, I want to throw up immediately. So I can't do like your next career path. I can't do that. No, but but I think it's just, it's a sort of a sign of the times, right? I feel like this encapsulates the zeitgeist of carry culture now, because it's like peak thumb stop engagement on social media. And it's like, what is that? That's so funny. And I just feel like that's what this era can be, because we've seen the success of Desert Warrior, right? Which is basically just like a meme that started from a typo of the original Boker Kalishnikovs, right? Yeah. So, and now we're just seeing more fun knife designs like the Trout thing. I think that's, I don't know, I think it's pretty sick. Some people might see this and be like, oh, this is stupid or whatever. Just like, come on, bro. It's still a Kershaw leak. Like,
even in a vacuum, it just looks, it's still a leak, which is like an all-time great. And it's not too expensive, and it's nice, quirky design. And to the right person, this is like a totally awesome gift. Like, I could totally see this as a really
and maybe it becomes I don't know, it doesn't raise as many eyebrows if it's like, I know, it's like, oh, it's like a funny fish knife or something. I don't know.
They had released, I believe last year, they had released a Magna Cut version with kind of like a flamed black to red gradient design. I like this over that, even though that one is Magna Cut. So
you're not getting this for the blade steel. You're getting this for the Trout handle, right? And awesome. the cloud that comes with it. So this is a good release. But if I had to come up with a dream Kershaw knife release, I think it would be something that looks kind of like this. So you don't need to adjust your monitors or your phones. This is just the rainbow. How did they even get this color? This is like the gas station classic knife. Yeah. It's like the gas station knife special. But if you know, you know, it's actually the Kershaw Outcome assisted in rainbow. So pretty cool. This one's half the price, right? So it's like $43. Yeah, but I think it's flipper frame lock, but also assisted. But it just has like the rainbow treatment to it, which I think also looks really cool.
Unfortunately, for the majority of Kershaw stuff, it's assisted. So always keep that in
Yeah.
mind if you're picking up a Kershaw, that it's more than likely to be spring assisted, which means that as you're flipping it open, it's going to help you make it snappier. It makes it much more faster to deploy.
Yeah, it like does the flicking for you, and sometimes there's a kick to it. I just don't like the kick.
Yeah.
Because if it kicks really strong, I feel like I have less control, and it feels like but I don't know.
Probably
Maybe people
why
who are
there's
stronger
regulation on it.
than me. Yeah, people who are stronger than me, they're just like, I'm just gonna hold this thing, it'll do it for me. So that's fine. But those were my favorites from this. But dude, like, this is probably good. Sorry, squirrel. This is probably gonna be like the talk of the town. Launch Iridium MagnaCut automatic. It's just like, I can't really review this. This is 3.5-inch blade automatic. It's like too big for SoCal.
Was the original Iridium also 3.5-inch?
It was big. It was a big boy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It was bigger, and it had the metal handles, and it felt like a more robust and slicey version of the format of knife that we were coming to see so often. The 3-inch ish, but very flexy handle crossbar lock style knife. So it was like bigger, not necessarily beefier, but more robust feeling because of the handle material. And then now we have it in aluminum again, but black aluminum, and then automatic with the snow wash blade in MagnaCut. Sorry, that's probably like the big headline.
Oh, and there's also a mini Iridium as part of this release, which is exactly 3 inches. So I guess there is an option there.
Yeah,
but it is in D2, but for a third of the price.
This one?
Yes, that's right.
Ah, okay. Tonto with the crossbar in 3-inch, yeah.
And D2 for a third. D2.
Yeah. So I believe the original Iridium was also D2.
Yeah.
I liked the Iridium. It had
a lot of people loved it.
Yeah, a lot of people liked it. I guess the only thing for me is sometimes the deployment of their Duralock or whatever, the crossbar lock that they had felt clangy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Clangy. I don't know how to explain it better than that. Maybe it might have been like the way the spring is in there, or the fact that the handle's like all aluminum, but just like the haptics of it and the sound was like clangy.
It didn't feel solid, or it didn't feel like it just had an element of clanginess.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it just just like clanged. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah. So
let us know if your Iridium clangs as well.
Yeah. But there are. Do you want to take a look at any of the ZT stuff?
So ZT,
this one is interesting.
That one is a standout. So ZT has kind of been quiet over the past 5 to 7 years. They haven't really done a lot of this brand under. So the whole overall brand is Kai USA, right? And Zero Tolerance has been like the all-time. Over the past 10 years, they're premium, made in the USA. They partnered with a lot of USA designers as well. So they have Striders, they have what's the other one? Strider and Hinderer designs, all-time classic. Sinkovich is, and now I think this is a little bit back to form. It's the classic big blade plus titanium handle that Zero Tolerance is kind of known for, made in the USA, all of that. So this one was pretty interesting. I think it's a fairly fair price, but I think S45 VN, I wish it could have been MagnaCut.
Right. At 360.
For
360. But it has the button lock, which I believe is the first on the ZT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then is it assisted? I forget. I
believe not.
Okay.
It's on bearings. Yeah, it's on bearings.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then what does this thing do? Is this just like the way the pivot looks?
Yeah, I think that's just a custom pivot.
I will just go to Vegas and handle it so I can confirm for myself. So
So the button on the button lock is teal anodized, so that's pretty sick. And the overall proportions and the design of it is 100% ZT. Like even the swedge on the top of the blade is classic ZT, classic ZT design, that kind of double swedge on the top. And so there's another version that looks a lot like it. It's a full automatic now, this 0512, kind of looks a lot like it with an anodized button as well. But this one comes
Oh,
in,
okay.
yeah, crew
Yeah.
wear, and then the show side is micarta. So that's
Okay. I got the two. I thought these two different offerings were in the same knife. That's what I was like. I swore it was like automatic or assisted or something. There's just two
right.
different
Yeah,
options. I see. I
they
see.
just look a lot alike. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think they mentioned who the designer is. Probably not a collaboration one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so these are the two latest ones from Zero Tolerance. They go into hibernation. They come out with one or two knives a year and settle back on the iridium
Yeah.
for a while again.
Yeah.
But
Maybe this is my prediction for made in USA knives are gonna have their moment in 2025. Who knows?
true.
ZT's waking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
But
you pick up either of these, or would you pick up the trout knife?
the trout I would get
The
just
iridium one. I'm
five
sorry,
of the
the
trout knives. Yeah, if somebody gave me $350, no, I'm getting five of the trout knives, I think.
or
So
10 of the rainbow outcomes.
yeah. And then I just
Yeah.
hand them out to all my friends and we all have the matching trout knife. I think that'd be sick.
Oh, that'd be
So
sick. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So out the gate out for 2025, Kershaw and Zero Tolerance back from hibernation, and I think some pretty interesting designs and slowly getting back to form. So I'm excited to see what's next for them this year.
Yeah. Are you disappointed that there's no new ballad song?
I actually never got into the lucha.
Yeah.
It was a writer who really got into
Oh, okay.
the lucha. Yeah. Because I'm not particular about the live blades. That's why I never got into it.
Okay.
I'd rather I like it as a fidget and manipulation toy rather than an actual thing I cut
Sure.
with. I have other um Bella songs for that, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So and combining the price of the lucha before, and then you have to get additional scales to make it flippable because it
Oh,
used to
right.
come.
Yeah.
It comes with original, very heavy stainless steel handles. Yeah, so just that whole combination and fussiness, and the fact that they didn't want a live blade, kind
Yeah.
of yeah stopped me from getting it originally. Yeah.
You know what I need? I need the Lucha, but in the rainbow steel colorway, and then make it a trainer. And instead of a live blade, it's a trout, right? I think that'd
Yeah.
be perfect. So we can only hope, a boy can dream. So let's move on to the next piece of news. I actually have
Yeah.
one on the desk. This is the
Yeah.
Vosteed Porcupine
Mhm.
top liner lock. So I have one here. Dude, I hope that these will still be in stock. Hold on, I didn't flick it properly.
I think
I
it's
hope these will
completely
still
out of
be in
stock
stock.
at the time of recording now.
Like even at the time of recording on their website, it was pretty low stock, and for US people, you could just get it on Amazon, but I think it's kind of flying off the shelves. So why might that be the case? What do we have here? It's top liner lock and
Mhm.
then sub 3-inch blade, but it's got a big, like beefy kind of blade, big belly to it,
Big
big thumb
belly, yeah.
hole. Yeah, big belly, big thumb hole. And the ergonomics are so, everything about this to me screams workhorse knife, right?
Mm.
It's jimped everywhere. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a knife with this much jimping. It's on the spine of the blade in two positions, right? So where your thumb chokes up, and then also where your pointer finger would be, and then also on the finger choil itself, there's like jimping, and then just on the inside of the handle here, there's jimping, and then along the back of the spine, there's also jimping. It's like there's I don't know where else they could add jimping. Maybe the butt of the knife. That's it.
And then the
And the
choice to
top,
use
yeah.
micarta as well, just to add that grippiness on the handle everywhere.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
mine's G10, but right? I think this is G10,
could be.
but yeah, but I
Yeah,
think
but same,
it,
but
yeah,
both textured anyway. Yeah.
yeah, both of them are textured and lightweight and like good for the outdoors. So yeah, the brown one is micarta. The white or the gray, I believe, is also
Right.
is G10. Yeah, so you have options there. Um,
I think I was
but yeah,
mentioning, I was raving about the last knife that they made, the Martin. But I
yeah, yeah.
think this is the one that's gonna be gonna be one for me. I really like everything about this.
Hmm.
It reminds me a lot of a bunch of different Vosteed knives as well. The From the jimping and the blade shape, and then the wire clip, plus the top liner lock. I think all of those features combined just
True.
makes for a super. And the fact that it's sold out everywhere, it's become hard to find now because people are really taking to this knife, I think.
Yeah. Do you know who designed it?
No, I think it's just UA.
Oh, really? Okay. Really?
It's
Okay.
internal. Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah. Because it does kind of remind me of, what was it, the PSYOP, the big ass top
Oh
liner
yeah,
lock that
yeah.
was titanium.
The Tough
Kind of,
Knives, a
yeah,
collaboration. Yeah,
kind of reminds me of that, but it has its own kind of identity because of the anti-slip design
it
and
reminds me
the big
of
belly.
if you combine the raccoon and the acorn. That's
I
it's
don't
like
remember the
convergence.
acorn.
The
Oh, I see. I
acorn
see.
was kind of like their squid. It was kind of like I
Ah,
was describing it as kind of friendly, but it had the micarta handles. It had the larger blade with a bigger belly, but not as
mm,
streamlined as this. So
I
if you
see. I
took
see.
the original PSYOP design, like the top liner raccoon with a button for the top liner, and then the handle of the acorn, this is kind of like the convergence. And I love the fact that it's a wire clip. I'm a big fan of wire. I know a
Mm,
lot of people don't like wire clips,
yeah,
both
and
visually and
reversible.
functionally. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do love a wire clip, and yeah, so this is kind of like everything I like from a mid tier or a budget, or like you said, a working knife, and it's sub $80. I think that's pretty sick.
Yeah. I'm thinking that Vosteed or UA or whoever designed this just went in and just thought like, let's just make a knife that's impossible to drop. You know, it's just so grippy, anti-slip. I think that's what they were going for, and I appreciate it because I started thinking about how I've seen so many knives, right? Just in the past year, I've handled like so many, and some of them I just like, no shade, but I'm just like, why does this exist?
Mm,
Right? Like, what is the point of this design?
yeah.
Sometimes it's just like a cool expression of design and like aesthetics and then engineering, and that all comes together into like a beautiful, functional thing. That's
Mm,
cool, but so many of those exist already. And it's just like, okay, are you just trying to find somebody that this resonates with, or is it solving a problem that others don't? And I feel like
mm,
this one actually solves that problem of,
right.
I want something that's like big, beefy, not too expensive, and it won't slip out of my hands for what I'm going to use it for. And
Yeah.
this feels like it's designed with that in mind.
Yeah.
And I just think maybe there aren't as many products, or maybe there are too many products that not all of them can have this solution first approach. And some
Yeah.
of them are just to round out the assortment, to offer variety so that you can be a collector or just like enjoy other things. But it's not really very solution driven. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
could
don't know. I've
totally
been
see
having
you
that
that
thought.
when you had that in hand, you're like, oh, this is going to be perfect for my volunteering stuff or for breaking down boxes.
Right.
Like, I can
Yeah.
totally see that that was first thought. And
Yeah.
it's fully a working knife and designed to be a working knife and focusing on the functionality of it while still having a nice design and solid features. I mean, 14C28N is one of the best budget steels out there. And
Hmm.
then being mindful of the fact that there's a reversible clip plus the sub 3 inches, and then the use of a grippy material like G10 or micarta. It's just like a nice convergence of design and functionality, and yeah, still affordable as well. So
Yeah. But I'm thinking there's something wrong with me because I'm like, despite this whole little rant I had about, oh, being solution first and actually solving a problem, I think I just like the knives that don't do that. That just like look cool, or yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I know at the end of the day it can still cut the way that I need it to, but
right.
it's just like, yeah, it's, I don't know. I'll
That's how
think about
people
this some more.
that's how people end up with 30 knives, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes half of it is just the working knife, half of it is just the stuff you just like to look at and like to use and like to fidget with. I mean, I have
Yeah.
some knives that I rarely use, but it's just fun to look at and to hold and to cut with occasionally, and just enjoy the engineering and
Hmm.
the knife making and the design
And the
of it. I mean,
design,
nothing
yeah.
wrong with it,
Hmm.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I'm curious what our audience kind of gravitates to these days. Like,
yeah.
are most of you guys kind of just getting your first one, or you only have a few and
Yeah.
you're just starting out, or are you just like deep into this and you just get the trout knife because that's the end all goat knife of 2025? Just let us know.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
my last statement for it, I guess, would be just rather than being dismissive about oh, knives only have to be thing. And just keep an open mind and just enjoy the hobby as a collector and as a user, and just
Hmm.
like love the knives. I think that's, rather than being dismissive and like, oh, knives have to be this or knives have to be that, or you have to use all of your knives, or you have to like knives are tools meant to be used. I mean, keep an open mind and just
Hmm.
enjoy it. Just approach it from a point of enjoyment rather than automatically dismissive,
Yeah.
as a lot of people are in the hobby, especially with
Yeah.
knives. I've noticed with knives especially, people are automatically dismissive and have an opinion that's kind of immovable. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I just enjoy the trout knife. What's, I mean, there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that, right?
can you imagine if like you just see the trout knife at the store and you're like, "Wow, that looks really fun. I want that." But then another part of you is like, "You cannot get the trout knife. It's a trout." Like, it's okay. I think it's okay.
You're already jumping ahead. Like, if I post this to Instagram, people are gonna flame me for having the trout knife. Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, but that's very real. Like some
Yeah.
people kind of want that validation, but that's okay. Speaking of what are we speaking of? Porcupines, trouts. Let's move over to pineapples with the
Yeah.
next one, I think. Let's jump into this. So this is from ReyLight, the Pineapple Mini TI Mark II. What do we
Yeah.
got here? These
Yeah.
look like mini
So
lightsabers. Very cool.
that's right. Yeah. If you're looking for really, for the longest time, Ray has made some of the finest, this form factor of double A or triple A.
Hmm.
This is Ray's domain. This is like,
Yeah.
if you're looking for a nice titanium flashlight that's compact and perfect for EDC and also looks fantastic, like in that profile, in that space of 14500 or double A's, and the 14400s, which is the 1404.
10,
What's the
10 440s.
10440? Sorry, yeah,
Yeah, the
which is
AAA
the
size.
AAA lithium ion size. ReyLight Pineapple, the Lands, the pineapples, the mini pineapples. Yeah, so this is the latest and greatest from him, the 10440 size, the AAA size, and a few distinctions for this one. He has a new and improved clip. The clip is new, and he mentioned that it's now a forward clicky, and forward clicky
Ooh.
means that there is now momentary on for it, as opposed to a reverse clicky where you have to click it first, and when you release it, that's when the light comes on.
Yeah, like you click
So,
it all the way down, it makes a click sound, and then the light turns on. Versus forward clicky with momentary on, you can
yes,
just like half press it, and as soon
yeah,
as you press it at all, then it will start to turn on. But you can let go of the switch, and it'll turn off instantly, or
yeah.
you can click it all the way down, like
Yeah,
a
and
forward clicky.
you should be able to change the brightness without clicking through. So
Oh, right.
you select the brightness and click through, and then that's the brightness you settle
It will
on.
keep
Yeah,
it on there. Yeah,
yeah, and
cool.
yeah. So it comes with a bunch of finishes for titanium. You have your choice of polished, stone washed. Some of them might already be sold out. It is a very popular platform. Ray, as usual, comes in a few of these finishes and a few handle designs. He's particularly known for the frag pattern, which isn't it's kind of like a frag pattern, but it's a really cool
It's
texturing
like
on it.
rectangular. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know he also, I believe there are plans. He is also known for the Seigaiha Japanese pattern, like the wave
Hmm.
pattern. I think he is making some of those as well. But yeah, if you're looking for end game level, not too expensive even for titanium,
Yeah, under
for
70
end game
bucks.
level EDC flashlight, titanium. Ray's also a tint fanatic, so he's putting in the latest and greatest Nichia 519A
Yeah.
and a good tint in there. Yeah, so it's nice to see. And these are always routinely in stock as well. So these aren't stuff that's going away anytime soon. The mini
Hmm.
pineapple is probably his most popular product, perfect for EDC, perfect size. And yeah, if you're looking for like a really solid end game level, looks fantastic titanium flashlight, ReyLight, yeah, it's
Yeah.
available now.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I maybe have a dumb question, Mikey.
sure.
Uh, how bright does it get? Like, what is the output? I'm just noticing it just has like it just shows the different modes, and it's like 2% is moonlight, and then there's 100%. And then I look at the reviews, and people are like, "Yeah, perfect light," and there's no mention of the actual output. And I would think to people who are maybe newer to flashlights, that's the most important thing to them. But then it seems like this is a light for people who probably don't care and don't need that much.
Yes, yeah.
Is that true?
I think that's a fair assessment. This
Okay.
isn't the light for people looking for Well, they are looking for function, but a different kind of function. You're not going to use this light if it's something you depend on for work or something, or
Uh-huh.
it could be, but it's not intended for that purpose. These are this is there's kind of, I think the fact that there's not a published lumen output for it is just there's an assumption that you're not going to get that much light out of a 1440
Yeah.
battery in this size. But what you are getting is enough light for EDC in a really, really fantastic tint in a host that looks fantastic. That is the
Yeah.
expectation going into purchasing
Yeah.
this kind of
Built
light.
for EDC, looks
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Okay.
Versus if you spent on something like similar, a Streamlight, what do you call
Microstream or
this? A
something.
microstream that's just like about the same size, more tactical use, more work oriented use, that has like very specific lumens, and it's compatible with alkalines and all of that, and it's much more a work oriented, task oriented light
Yeah.
versus
This
something
is
like
more
this.
an enthusiast
Yes,
experiential kind of
yeah,
thing. I see.
but I do appreciate
Cool.
that it's not that expensive for full
Yeah.
titanium and fully. And this is like true enthusiast level already
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Yeah, not
Yeah.
many makers are making this size of light, the 144 10440 flashlight specifically, and not to this spec at all. So Ray's in
Sure.
his own lane for this one, as pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think that wraps it up for this week's new products news cycle. Why don't we
Mhm.
jump into questions then?
Sure.
So every Monday we'll post on Instagram just a story. If you guys want to have questions answered on the show, you can add to that there, and then we'll try our best to answer them. Okay, why don't we start with a question from Creep It Classy, repeat asker. Thank you very much. They asked, recently carried my Through Night T10T. How do you feel about 10-year-old items still in rotation?
How do you feel about 55-year-old watches on wrist?
Sure, yeah. I mean, how do I feel personally about you carrying something that's 10 years old? Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel it. That's fine, dude. Like, I don't mind at all. But
I have a
how do
funny
you feel?
anecdote.
Yeah,
I,
sure.
I did give a T10, the exact light that you mentioned, the Through Night T10T, which is
Mm-hmm.
a double A titanium flashlight that Through Night no longer makes. I did give that to my friend who's a doctor who was looking for a pen light. He loves it,
Yeah.
still carries it. I kind of want it back, but I'm not going to tell him because you
Okay.
can't get it anymore. And it's
Yeah.
double A titanium flashlights are hard to come by, and that's kind of my long roundabout way of saying that some of the older items that you can't get anymore are even better than stuff you can get today, like the
Mm.
Benchmade 42 that we love. Can't get that anymore. The Atwood pry bar that we liked from
The
years
Bride
ago, can't
Baby.
get
Yeah.
that anymore. So many things that are 10 year or older, especially like watches and some knives, you can't get anymore, and they're like fantastic, and it's impossible to get them anymore. So if you have them and they're still in rotation, that is actually like a point of pride, I
Pride.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could imagine that anecdote. You come up to your friend and you hand them this flashlight, and they're like, "You're handing me this 10-year-old flashlight? You think I'm a friend?" And then they just like throw it in the ground, just like, "No." Like, yeah, it's gonna be fine, right? I
Yeah.
think for me, when I got the vintage watch, it sort of helped break the not illusion, just the idea that like, oh, the latest and greatest is what you need,
Yeah.
right? But it's like watches have been around forever, and it's fine. It's actually more accurate than a lot of the modern watches I got.
Yeah.
Granted, like it is on the higher end, I would say, of quality for a vintage watch, but it's like 55 years old and it's still enjoyable to this day. Maybe because it's old, right? There's something about having just the story of it like lasting that long, the timelessness of the design, the
That
fact
is a
that it
whole
still
ass
runs,
life
right?
on your wrist already.
Just yeah, it
55
just
years. Yeah.
proves that it can keep running, and I think there's something to be appreciated about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I personally don't have any opinion of like, oh, this thing is pretty old, I should not use it or retire it or throw it away. If it doesn't serve you anymore, sure, but
Yeah.
if you still love
Exactly.
it 10 years later, that's like even better, I think.
I have so many lights and knives and other stuff that are actually 10 plus years old, and they are still in rotation. Remember the
Mhm.
old Olight S1 that we got long, long ago, 2015,
Yeah.
2016? That is actually turning 10 years old soon, and that is permanently my light in my tech kit because it's small and
I
titanium.
Okay. Why did you
Yeah.
have to bring that up?
Why did you lose it?
2016 was
Yeah,
9 years ago.
I know, right? Yeah. And then
Uh,
I mentioned a few shows ago I had that Dragonfly. That was from 2013. So that's
yeah,
15 years old now. No, 12 years old now. Sorry,
12.
12.
Yeah,
My math. I have a
still.
Haiku that's 10 plus years old. The Sunway Man is 10 plus years old. Yeah, some of the stuff really do last. So, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a testament to the fact that it's still in rotation and still good and it still serves a function. I think that's not a detriment of how quote unquote old it is, but rather how enduring like a tool can be.
Exactly.
We know
Yeah.
people with Victorinox from 20, 30 years ago that are still in rotation, right? And like we said, the watches are still working decades later. They've lived a whole life before they made it onto your wrist. So
Right. Right.
yeah. So yeah, we always make the joke of old is good and new is bad. And
Yeah.
sometimes,
It's
most
not a
times, it is
joke.
actually true. It is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
Cool. So
Cool.
hopefully, you know, you keep enjoying that through night T10T for another 10 years. Hopefully it lasts that
Exactly.
long. Hopefully we're around that long.
Yeah.
So wish you the best with that. Um, what else should we answer here? How about this one from EDC Pocket Treasure? If you
Hmm.
had to eliminate one piece of EDC from carry, what would it be? How do you
Yeah.
interpret this question,
Yeah. You
Mikey?
had a question. Is it from our carry or from the world of
Yeah, is it?
carry?
Do you want us to eliminate this from our personal carries, or just from the concept of everyday carry for everyone for all time? Those are two different questions, I think.
Do you have an answer for both? I have an answer for both.
If I had to eliminate one piece of EDC from carry, what would it be? I think it would be fire if I didn't need a phone. If it was just normalized to like not
Oh,
carry your phone.
I didn't even think of the phone.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so
See, that's
ingrained.
yeah, exactly. That's how ingrained it is. I would be liberating you from that, Mikey, if I could
Dang.
eliminate that from the world's EDC,
Okay,
right?
that's my answer now.
Okay.
Okay, just as an anecdote, you know how often it is now when I'm doing errands that I'm the only person in the elevator not on their
Not on
phone,
their phone. Yeah.
if I'm the only one in the escalator not on their phone, and even if I'm like dinner out with friends or family, especially with younger people around, I'm literally the only person with my phone in my pocket or face down on the table and
Yeah.
actually eating and looking people in the eye, and everybody's just like kind of like
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it does make me feel old now that I can't have a straight conversation to look people in the face
Some
anymore.
human connection. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. No, I mean, I get it. Like, that's kind of why I went on this whole like digital minimalism. I have a bajillion phones, but none of them are addictive in that
Yeah,
way, and I
yeah,
just use them strictly for work or just the utilitarian purpose and not the entertainment distraction type thing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that still resonates with a lot of people. I would say increasingly in Gen Z and maybe even Gen Alpha, I'm
Yeah,
starting to see a trend of dumb phone usage and old tech. And I might do a whole video on that just because I think it's really interesting. But
yeah.
that would be my answer for my personal one. I don't know if I would eliminate it. Actually, it might do the world good. I don't know to to just get rid of smartphones in the way that we use them now. But
Yeah.
another one that I think is maybe a hot take or a controversial take that I would want to eliminate from EDC entirely,
Mm.
and just understand the context of this, of who we are and like what we do on the show. But imagine no pocket knives. What would that do? What would that do? That would make EDC as a hobby more accessible. Because imagine all the parts of the world where you can't carry a pocket knife anyway, or it's stigmatized. What if we don't need the pocket knife to be the indicator of, oh, is this a worthy EDC or not? Or, oh, that's just stuff in your pockets. That's not EDC because it doesn't have a knife. Imagine if we just got rid of that framework entirely, then like
Dang.
everyone would be into EDC, I think. That's the
But
hot take version of the
okay,
answer.
but what about people who legitimately need a knife for work or for their actual daily tasks, like handymen or working people or people in those industries where they actually cut through stuff regularly. What about them? You're
Those
eliminating
people
it.
exist? No, I'm just kidding. uh, hmm.
You think that this is the trolley problem for knives, right?
Yeah,
You're
the
like,
trolley problem. Yeah, I pulled the lever and then it's no knives for anyone. And then, yeah.
yeah. I thought of knives. I thought of knives, but then
Right?
I was like, what about the actual tradesmen and the working people and people who really legitimately need to cut stuff?
What if everybody instead was I pulled the trolley, right? Or I pulled the lever and then
Mm.
okay, wait. That's a bad image. Those people don't get run over by the trolley. Maybe the knives get run over or something, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The knives get
It's 5 knives
yeah.
or 1 knife.
Yeah, the knives get run over. Nobody gets knives anymore. But what about everybody else then gets really cool utility blades and scissors? And they get to add those. Imagine like the Magna Cut Ultim pocket scissors. Would that be a viable
Okay,
solution?
look, okay, hear me out. Like Japanese horticulture inspired scissors, but in Magna
Yes.
Cut with Ultim and
Yeah.
Titanium. Oh my god. Okay, you're cooking. I like that. I
Right?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like our Japanese friends can now be part of the community. No, I'm not saying that like you
Yeah,
must have a knife to be part of the community. No, but some people think that way. Some people like
yeah.
act like that in our comments and stuff. That's why I'm just like, what if we just got rid of that? But I think my first answer is even better because without smartphones, you wouldn't have mean people commenting at
Gosh.
all. So maybe we could just live life with pocket knives and no phones.
I
I think
like
that's where
oh
I'd
man,
land.
I think that changed my answer completely. I really like the phone answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because that I think would solve a lot of cultural and the whole zeitgeist of human interaction would change
Yeah,
instantly with no
yeah.
phones. We'll be back to the 90s, which was like the best time. And if I could eliminate one piece of EDC, I think my answer would be the same every time. Nux. I hate freaking
Nux.
Nux, man.
Yeah.
Um, I like a lot of the pocket jewelry, pocket trash, embellishment stuff, but oh god, I really can't get behind the Nux, man.
But what
I
about all the tradesmen that
come
no.
on.
I'm pulling that lever for you, Mikey.
Nice, yeah. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
pulling it for to just knock everybody off of the Nux, but
Hmm.
yeah, I really like the phone answer. That's
Okay.
yeah. That would
Yeah.
be that really made me think. Yeah,
Mm.
imagine waking up the next day with and waking up late because you have no alarm on your phone,
Yeah.
and then there was just no phones. Ah, what a world that would be, right?
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
I guess one other semi-serious answer would be if we could eliminate like car fobs. I mean
Oh
we kind
wow,
of
yeah,
are. Some
that's right.
car
Yeah.
right. A lot of the newer cars that you could just use an app on your phone or something. But then, if I eliminate the phone, then we have the car fob problem. Then it's just like you can't win. You can't win with
Yeah,
this
yeah.
question. But it was a fun thought exercise. Thank you, EDC Pocket Treasure. And why don't we do one more before we jump into our community submissions? The next question is from the Chow Tech, the KO Tech, the
The
Chaotic.
chaotic, the chaotic.
The
Okay.
chaotic? Okay. Do you have an EDC tool that has made you closer to a friend or family member? Asking the real
Ooh.
questions. This is what it's all about, right? Well,
Human
my
connection.
yeah, I was gonna say it's not my smartphone. I'm pretty sure it's not the smartphone. Uh, hmm. Do you have an answer
You
for
have a
this, Mikey?
you have a whole story about the watches that have gone through your family. So I
Yeah,
think that's a fair
yeah.
answer for you, right?
For me, it's like every time I get a new watch or I'm thinking about a new watch, which is fairly often, I text it to my dad. We chat about it a little bit. So that
Mm.
I think the watch collecting hobby as part of EDC has gotten me a little bit closer to him. It's hard for I mean, luckily I have a good relationship with my dad, but I can see how it's kind of hard to just have stuff to talk about with your dad, right? So that's like fun and lighthearted. So I think the watches thing is a good one for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, other than that, I can't really think of something off the top of my head that's like very personally connecting in that way. Hmm. But I would say like a lot of my friends, they do get into EDC because of me. I had a friend
Same.
from
Yeah.
the gym who he got a new job and he is curious about watches just because he always sees me wearing one or talking about them and he didn't have one and he kind of wanted to experience what that's like. So I gifted him one and he was very happy by it. And I just, yeah, I thought that was cool. Just like, giving away gear so that other people can experience it, especially because like with watches, I'm knowledgeable, right? So I kind of know what would be good for that person. So it was like a very targeted,
Personal.
personalized
Yeah.
gift. Yeah, that it took away the friction of needing to know what they're getting into, doing the research, putting up the money for it, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that was cool. Yeah.
For me, I think just kind of like related to the last question, if you took away all of the knives, the
Mm-hmm.
question that about EDC that people approach me the most is flashlights. Because I think from a
Oh yeah.
normal everyday usability, I always say that why carry a flashlight? My answer to that is always half of the day is in the dark. So why would you not prepare for that with a flashlight, for that inevitability, right? You because like you would
An
carry an
umbrella,
umbrella for 10% chance of rain, but you wouldn't carry a flashlight for a guaranteed
darkness. Yeah.
100% darkness every day. So yeah, flashlights is usually the one that people ask me questions about and I can make the best recommendations for. And I noticed that um the flashlight communities can get really passionate about it, and it's a safe component of EDC, kind of like bags, where it's universally accessible, it's universally available, and it's not too expensive. So like you can, we were just talking about the ReyLight that's under $80 and it's
Mm-hmm.
already top of the line
Yeah.
flashlights. You would be looking at $800 for like a top of the line off the table custom knife, right? And it's not even something that's
Even
permissible
more
for,
probably. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not even completely permissible in all areas for all people and for all use cases. But flashlights, like everybody can get into it. Everybody would, I would give my mom flashlights, I would give my brothers flashlights, and I think that's the one that's made me closer and um, helped me make people jump that connection from not knowing anything about EDC and making it make sense for them, because they understand that their phone has a flashlight, but it sucks. And then they ask
Mm-hmm.
me a recommendation for something that can take a double A because it's the most accessible. Easy recommendations, and I think that's the one that's gotten me closer to people. That's the one that's made me EDC friends. Like I mentioned, that I joined
Yeah.
a flashlight
Even
group.
us,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
flashlights.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 Full circle. The
Yep.
we I asked you about flashlights. The very first thing I asked you
Mm-hmm.
on the blog years ago was, "Is this a good flashlight?"
And I'm
And
just
then
like, I don't know, probably.
yeah, there's no info about it. It's made by
Yeah.
Victorinox. Yeah. Anyway,
It's probably fine. Yeah.
yeah. I do have anecdotes where knives, even though it's like the latest thing I got into an EDC and that I
Mm-hmm.
cared about, but it's also the first thing that got me into EDC. So that there was that movie, and I also have a family friend, the my cousin-in-law. He was the one who introduced me into really cool knives. I don't know if you remember the brand HK, the Heckler and Koch.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Heckler and Koch knives used to be under Benchmade. Benchmade actually owned that line of
Right.
HK knives. They don't anymore. But the very first cool knife I saw that wasn't like a hardware store special was an HK knife from that cousin-in-law of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started showing me Spyderco stuff, and then yeah, that was like the whole trajectory of that. I wouldn't get into knife until like at least 10 years later, but that was like the inflection point. That was the starting point of my general interest. So knives can actually be cool, and they can be
Yeah.
also functional. We were at the beach at the time. We were cutting open some wood and stuff. So he showed me that. Yeah, the really cool one. I couldn't find it anymore. Talking about the stuff that's old and inaccessible anymore. I wanted to give a new one
Mm.
back to him, but by the
Oh, that
time
would
I
be
was
nice. Yeah.
interested in knives again, it no longer in production.
Yeah.
Long past that time anymore. So yeah, so flashlights number one answer, knives number two answer, and watches is probably the least because I'm the only one into watches among
Uh
my
huh.
circles. But I get to talk about it with you, so I think that's a fair answer as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking about just the types of answers we've given, and more generally, it's EDC, besides their obvious overt functionality, can be, I guess, vehicles for connection in these different ways, right? So one
Yeah,
is through uh, just conversation, just like shared enthusiasm, which is really
yeah,
cool. And now that you mention it, I do think about like I have other friends that are into watches or into EDC just more generally, and we talk about that kind of stuff. And
hmm,
that's just a way to have something to connect over. And then gifting also, like get like EDC makes for good gifts because
cool
to
guy
gift,
stuff.
no, not just that, but because it has to fit into their lifestyle and what they
Right.
use it for and what they
Yeah.
like and what they need it for. So it is kind of it's so personal, right? And it's more conducive to a gift that like really makes somebody feel seen and like understood and valued,
And
because
and
EDCs are so personal.
I'm sure you've had that experience where you give a really nice EDC tool to someone, and they're like, "Oh, this is so sick! It's exactly what I need. It's the
Yeah.
function that I need. Plus, it looks sick, and it's like
Yeah.
titanium or whatever." And that whole combination as a gift as well,
Yeah.
it never gets old. I have a couple of friends that I like hand off a lot of my spare EDC stuff to, and they're like, "Dude, you never miss. This is such a sick thing. How did you know that I would like this thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I want to share the cool EDC stuff with you." And they're always appreciative, and yeah, I love that
Yeah.
reaction every single time. It's nice to be EDC Santa Claus.
Yes. I had a similar situation. A friend, he's like a photographer and works on photo shoots and stuff. And he had a shoot at a beach like before sunrise. And I had gifted him a Loop Gear SK03, the black one. And because he likes like tech wear and the futuristic kind of look to it, so it matched his aesthetic already, but then it came in clutch for his actual work. And I think it was like the color rendering was good and all the stuff. It was just like, home run. And he was very appreciative of it. It's like, oh yeah, that was fun. That's sick to do. Yeah. So so EDC tools that make you closer to people. The last thing I thought about is it's also kind of a signal, like you were saying. If you see somebody with a cool, like say imagine you see someone with walking around, they have a wire clip in their pocket or something, you could just like go up to them and talk. Well, maybe if they're chill, that you could be like, oh cool, you carry a knife, like what is that,
and they're like,
this or that?
back up.
Yeah. They're like, let me see your badge. Like, huh? No, I just want to make conversation. Yeah, but I've seen people at coffee shops with like a cool bag, or I see people like with a cool watch on. And for me, those are just little entryways into just like a quick casual kind of connection. Just like, hey, I appreciate the thing on your wrist or on your bag. Are you into that kind of stuff? Oh yeah. And then we have a little conversation about it. And then, because I think like sometimes people have this stuff and they just want to be seen or noticed or recognized, right? If you know, and then most people don't, so it feels bad, man. But then sometimes people do, and if you give them a compliment, that's like free, right? That's cool. So that's another way I think that EDC can help you get closer to a friend, family member, or a random person on the street, wherever you are. Just try it out. See if that.
This is a great question.
Yeah,
I like this question.
Yeah,
made me really think about that.
Yeah. So thanks to the chaotic for the wholesome question. And with that, we'll jump into our viewer submissions. Okay. So let's do this one. This is from Michael, and they're a photographer and advertising agency owner and a CEO in Prague. They say, my EDC gear is for everyday adventures in the office and on the streets of Prague. So what do we got here? We've got...
Always wanted to go to Prague.
They've got the Bastion 223 pen, so bolt action.
Nice.
The black field notes, iPhone 15 Pro, McNeese MAC PM. Okay, that's the knife. Yeah. Then we got the JL Lawson worry coin here. It's like what does it say? Worrying is like paying a debt you don't owe. There we go. Deep. Then we got Apple AirPods Pro in the case here, a Game of Thrones ring from Pandora, and then the Apple Watch SE 2023.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm going to guess your favorite thing here. Actually, I don't know. I don't know what your favorite thing here would be.
I was
going to say the Game of Thrones Game of Thrones ring.
You know what would be interesting? If you took away the knife, this would look like it's so interesting that if you take away the knife right in the middle of the photo, it would look like a very normal, everyday person type of carry, but then just adding the knife there. It just transforms the whole thing completely.
Yeah, but imagine if you remove the Pro iPhone, then it becomes just the most base thing you've ever seen, right?
I know, right? It's you're like, this man is a self-made, self-functioning, self-sufficient man.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, dude. CEO without a phone? Like,
what is the
crushing it.
most boss move? Like,
Yeah,
people have to
exactly. No
write you and
phone.
come to you
Yeah,
directly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot reach me. No, I'm just kidding. So, but yeah, it's a pretty pretty like robust set of the metal tools here, I would say, and then it's kind of balanced with just more of the on the go tech that you would kind of expect if you're a photographer and a CEO for like an agency, right?
I do like the color accents that are part of this. The brass
Mm-hmm.
coin, the ultim bead, and the gold ring just sets off
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the black and silver, black and white theme of the carry, and then just having those little color accents. Yeah, I just like the photo in general as well, like the wood background and everything.
Yeah, I don't know much about this knife, but it looks really nice.
It
So the
does.
PM Mac 2 Gen 2, it's is it Magna Cut?
I feel like I've heard of McNeese as a designer. I feel like I've seen his
Yeah,
designs collaborating with somebody
it's made
else.
in
And
USA. I
yeah,
think it's a Magna Cut titanium frame lock.
sick.
Yeah, so these things aren't cheap. And then it's you said it's the 3.5 inch blade, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
larger knife.
yeah.
Yeah, it is
So
Magna
this,
Cut. Yeah,
mhm.
made in the USA. Ooh,
So
really nice. In
I think
stock.
this is,
Amazing.
oh,
Nice.
nice. Yeah, this is probably the standout piece.
Yeah.
And then I'm curious what you might, what would having a knife like this look like in use as a CEO slash photographer on the day to day? But
Mm.
maybe it's not, maybe your EDC doesn't have to directly correlate to your responsibilities
Yeah.
at work, and maybe you just enjoy the thing and you find other things to use it for. So
Yeah. Or you just like it. Just fidget with it at
you just
your
like it, you can have
big
it. Yeah.
mahogany desk in your corner office. No harm there. That would be so sick, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any other notes on this one?
I just like the other extra stuff that's totally unrelated to the work, like the worry coin. I love.
Mm-hmm.
We had a question like last episode about what the worry coin, what the challenge coins are for. So yeah, worry coin in this case probably could be a little decision maker for you, just flipping it for yes no decisions you want to deal with.
Yeah. Or
And I
just
like the
having this reminder, right? I think
yeah,
it's kind of profound. Worrying is like paying a debt you don't owe.
that is very deep.
Yeah, especially if you're a CEO, you're probably stressed out. You know, some
That's
things are
right.
out of your
Oh
control,
yeah,
some things you can control, and then it's just you don't have to worry about them. You can either take action or just be okay with it. And that's not easy to do, but I think having a coin with this maybe helps. Even
this
just
is a
like the
reminder.
tactile experience of just like, you know,
And as
yeah.
with all things, I like the little bits of nerdery that you can, if you have a little bit of nerdy interests, just like a Game of Thrones ring. I just like that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, little bit of fun stuff to include in not everything has to be so serious because
Yeah.
worrying is like a debt that
This is like paying a debt you don't owe. Yeah,
paying a
exactly.
debt.
I wonder where you heard that, man.
Yeah, I know. It's
You're spitting. Yeah.
I just yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
So
Thanks, Michael.
thank you, Michael, for this one. We'll
I would
jump
love to visit
into
Prague, though. Man,
yeah. We'll jump into the next one here. This one is from Aram Riley. So they are a cybersecurity student from Pennsylvania, and they're considering working in cybersecurity. So they're constantly knee deep in the world of tech. And for this reason, they intentionally try to select EDC items to be as analog as possible,
oh,
just
sick.
to get a break from the traditional world that they grew up in. And although they frequently cycle through their collection of bifold, card holder, and custom wallets, the Hobei 2.0 from OpenSea Leather was about as close as they've gotten to the perfect wallet that suits their daily needs. Then there's a Hank to keep their glasses clean, and that's by Jacob Alexander. And wow, they wrote a lot here. They're an avid note taker. They appreciate quality and craftsmanship of Japanese stationery, as do I. So they got the traveler's notebook, and it's their planner, their journal, their sketchbook, and then they can customize the system with materials that they like. So they're into the Midori paper, which is something that I use. It's a very high quality paper. It's perfect for fountain pens. Yeah, that's why I use mine. I think I have some on the desk, but yeah. And then they have the Travelers Company fountain pen and bullet pencil. So these are like the brass kind of options here. And then the Higonokami pocket
Mini Higonokami. That's really sick.
Yeah, mini. Yeah. And they were saying that they have other more technical pens, like big idea design, tactile turn, something like that, but they prefer the vintage kind of look. And then they have a brass Zippo lighter, and it can be a fidget. And then also, I think this is the sickest thing here. Oh, maybe the second sickest actually, but they have their Orient Ray 2. That is just beat.
That is,
which is like very cool to see. Yeah, it's just very well loved there. And they have other options from Timex, Seiko, Casio, and Hamilton, but they said they like the Orient. That makes it their go-to above the rest.
Yeah.
And
if you had shown me, had shown me this image, I would never have guessed that this is a cybersecurity student, just from the choices made from the EDC, and also how well worn and how well loved everything is. This is something you would see from like a 45-year-old tradesman who has been in EDC for the past 20 years, completely loves and has hand selected every one of their items that they actually use every day. That's what I would expect if you hadn't read the description.
Yeah.
And this guy's from like our EDC generation with a quarter bottle hook and like the Orient watch.
I know.
Yeah.
That's like I'm curious how old they are, because this last piece of it, the quarter bottle hook, I carried this when I was in high school. I think this thing is like pretty old. Yeah. So I'm just like is it actually a quarter? It is. It is the original.
Yeah, because it has a Craft and Lore emblem keychain as well.
Well, Craft and Lore is like a different company, but
still, sorry. Yeah. I was thinking Scout Leather. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just like,
who is this guy?
It's like anachronistic. That's kind of what's cool about it, right?
That is exactly the term. Yeah.
I don't like, if you told me that this was secretly taken in, I don't know, 2010 or something, I would believe that. But then this is actually from 2025. So that's pretty cool. And like you were saying, it's from a submitter that, based on their description, you might not anticipate that this is what they carry. But I think that's a great example of how like you can just like let go of all those stereotypes and identities around who carries what, right? So yeah, chances are like some things that what you carry can be a reflection that's more obvious of who you are, what your interests are. But then your EDC is also an opportunity and a platform to express yourself in ways that maybe you can't in your not your regular life, but the other aspects of your life. Yeah, exactly. So if they're at work and they're constantly surrounded by technology because they need to be in that world, but instead they really gravitate to the analog and the tactile and the slow and the timeless, all that kind of stuff, then this EDC actually makes sense as an expression of that. And I really think that's cool and something that should be celebrated and experimented with more, I think.
What's funny is I see like part of a desk mat on the left. So he probably has like the super techie stuff, a mechanical keyboard right off screen. Yeah. But like who uses a bullet pencil anymore, or like a Higonokami as a main knife, like, and especially the quarter bottle hook and all of that. Yeah, I would never have thought. This is really sick. Yeah,
this makes me think of a potentially interesting thought exercise, but we are kind of running late into the show, so maybe I'll just leave it as an exercise for the viewers or for you, Mikey. But is there something that you wish you could carry that would express parts of you that in the rest of your carry you just don't, right? So is there something that you would carry to kind of signify or represent something that you aspire to or want to express more fully, but maybe you don't already? And who knows what that might look like. Maybe for me and the vintage watches and stuff, it's like maybe I just want to feel more mature and not so precious about having the latest and greatest and being on top of everything and the first to something, as somebody who kind of thinks of themselves as a trendsetter, right? With starting EDC like way before the whole social media thing. Maybe I'm just relaxing that a bit, and subconsciously the vintage watch thing is the way that I'm approaching that. I don't know. So we can move on. We can move on to the next one. As I was saying that out loud, I realized like, okay, maybe that's not it, bro. But yeah, interesting question and very interesting submission from Aram Riley. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Let's move on to our last submission to round out the show here. And this is from Mr. Pete Pira. They're a user officer. And what did they got here? They got a Sharpie twin tip, the Casio ProTrek PRG 340 here,
Classic.
and then an MK outdoor lighter. That's pretty cool. And an all-weather notebook, and then the Milwaukee Fastback 1505 and the Nikkor MT1C Pro with their little minimalist wallet here. Yeah. So
if you had told me that this was Aram's carry, I would have believed it also, because this is I would expect somebody in tech and IT to carry like a Nikkor, a more modern Nikkor flashlight, or a more like a G-Shock or a ProTrek or something like that. But that aside, nothing to complain here, because these are all either classics or really solid picks. Not your standard Sharpie. It's a twin tip. There's a felt tip on both ends, but still a Sharpie classic. ProTrek 340 is PRG 340 is like one of the all-time great ProTreks. Very underrated. I believe it has ABC sensors on it, altimeter, barometer, compass. I could be wrong, but I believe that model is one of the classic ProTreks that has it. The Milwaukee Fastback, we always say that, at the end of the day, this is all you need. Yeah. And it's one of the cooler fastbacks because it has the bit driver built into it. And I think it's a utility blade based one. Has a bottle opener, wire clip, super sick. As I said earlier, I love wire clips.
Yeah.
And this line of Nikkors, the recent Pro ones, which are super simple, very affordable, but really nice designs and use standard batteries and very simple interface. These are my favorite ones from Nikkor recently, and I love that selection. And yeah, other than that, well-used tools, classic tools, no notes from Mr. Pete Pira.
Yeah, to me, it's just super cohesive and it makes sense. I can tell that there's kind of this. It's performance driven in an outdoor context, but it's not too precious about it, and you can tell because they're like banged up and used, and it all kind of makes sense. Especially like having a Sharpie and an all-weather notebook, right? Those things are something that can stand up to those elements. Then you have the GPS watch, and then you have an outdoor lighter. Like all of that kind of makes sense, and then like a really high output flashlight, and then just what's it called? A utility knife that you can kind of beat up, replace the blades. Like all of this sort of makes sense. It's cohesive and functional. Base is covered. It's even got like the right light, slice,
time, and fire.
yeah, and the other light, right? So yeah, pretty cool. And not too expensive for the amount of functionality, right? It doesn't look like too much gear.
That's right.
But it really does cover all the bases. And
not too expensive and not too expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, true. So I think this is a solid example.
Yeah, no notes.
Just a functional carry, yeah. So good way to round out the show, I think. So with that, I think that just about wraps it up for today's episode. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Hit the subscribe, share with a friend, and follow us on socials. And if you want to be part of our EDC community, feel free to hop into our Facebook group or Discord server for more real-time discussion with other EDCers. Lastly, if you have any feedback for us or questions you want answered on the show, you can shoot us an email at podcast@everydaycarry.com. Thank you so much for listening to Carry the Way. I'm Bernard.
And I'm Mikey.
And until the next one, peace.